Okay guys, here we are at the back corner of the vehicle now. We're going to work on the back brakes. Pretty much same principle with regards to cleaning and lubricating and installing and removing the rotor, so on and so forth. But there's one key component that I want to show you guys is very different. The difference being how you push the piston back on the caliper. On the fronts, I was able to use my tool like this or a pair of channel lock pliers. The rears are a different style where they need to be threaded in with two dowel pins like you see on this tool here, and basically it winds inward and screws that piston in. As you're rotating the piston in, it goes inward. That's the design on the rear brakes on this vehicle here. So if you don't have this tool, you can go ahead and buy one for probably cheaper than you can pay someone to do your brakes. So I recommend jumping on that. As well, the back bolts for this are both 14 millimeters. So for the caliper, you're looking at a 14, and for the caliper holder, you're also looking at a 14. For these ones, it's kind of hard to sneak a socket in there with the gun like I did on the front. So we're gonna have to get a wrench over here, and of course, a ratchet with a socket for the caliper holder because it's a little bit tighter. So let's go ahead and take that out now. Guys, what I recommend, and I kind of was thinking about this as well off screen, was before you go ahead and order all your brake parts, check your calipers. Take your time to remove the wheels all the way around if you can, and check to make sure that the pistons push back, because if they don't push back, you need to order calipers and change your calipers while you're in there. That's not part of this video. That's a bit more intricate to do. Not a huge deal, but you have to bleed the brakes afterwards. I'm sure I'll show you guys a video of that on one day. But I highly recommend checking to see if you need calipers before you go ahead, tear everything down just to find out that, oops, I didn't bring all the parts. So let's get our pry bar. After we've loosened those bolts, pop this caliper off and leave it out of the way. Be careful, you're not going to be able to get too far because the park brake cable that's built into the caliper is still attached. Get our 14 millimeter with some leverage and go for those caliper holder bolts. Well, we finally loosened those and got those out of the way. Hopefully yours weren't as rusted as this one was. Now we can pop that caliper holder off and get that out of the way as well. Same idea for the fronts with these Phillips bolts. You're going to go ahead and persuade this rotor to come off a little bit. As you can see, guys, this backing plate has seen better days. What does that mean to us? Well, if it's so brittle that when you touch it, it collapses, I would just remove it. But it does serve a purpose. So just be careful not to disturb it too much to the point that it's not salvageable. And when you put the rotor back on, make sure that your backing plate is not rubbing your rotor, or else you're going to have a grinding noise. So let's go ahead and put this rotor back on. Now, before we go ahead and prepare our caliper holder and dress it up with lubrication, I'm going to show you guys how to wind in this caliper. So we're going to need our tool, or unless you're an absolute magician with needle nose pliers, but be careful with that because you don't want to rip the boot. It's a worthwhile investment if you're going to be doing your own stuff. This backing piece holds the entire tool from slipping out because it's wedging itself. And these two dowels are holding 4 positions, or 2 in this case, on the piston. So once you have a good seated tool, you begin winding it in. As you can see, the caliper is making its way in. Sometimes you gotta play with the tool here a little bit, but okay guys, now our caliper is pushed in and ready for install. Alright, so here we are again, disassembling our caliper holder like the front, same goes. Take the old shims out, clean them up, here, 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 lubricate, shims, lubricate, on. Alright, let's go ahead and do that now. Alright guys, so we're back here. What I did is I cleaned it with my angle grinder, then I just took it to the wire wheel to finish it up. Now what I did want to mention to you guys, if you're going to be using power tools or airlines with, you know, grinders and so on and so forth, especially if you're young and you're doing this on your first car and, you know, you want to save yourself some money, it's not worth endangering yourself. Wear, you know, safety equipment. Wear eye protection. You know, you only have 2 pairs of eyes, and I don't want to set a bad example here, not wearing eye protection, but I recommend you guys do that. That's all. So we've gone ahead now and lubricated it. We're going to lay the shims down and lubricate those as well. Shims in. A little bit of lube where the pad rides. Like we said, guys, remember, we do not want our brakes to be binding in there, because then they'll drag, and if they drag, you're going to get premature wear and you'll be here again in no time. We're going to put our holder back on. Tighten those back up. Alright, that's all fastened up, nice and snug. Now we're going to get our brake pads. Same applies with the lube, same applies with the wear indicator as the fronts. Okay? Okay guys, our pads are in. Let's go put this caliper back. Okay guys, that pretty much buttons up the brake job on the back end of this thing. I'm going to go ahead and do obviously the other sides, but I just wanted to show you guys front and rear. Obviously you're going to go ahead and put your wheel back on, torque that to about 100 foot-pounds on this, I believe. But I do want to mention one very important step, the last step, and actually no, it is the most important step of doing a brake job. Don't forget to pump the brake pedal. If you don't, what's going to happen is your caliper won't be there, your pads won't be there ready to hit the rotor as soon as you apply the brake. So, you know, you pull out of your driveway or pull into, you know, your parking spot, and you're going to go hit your brake, and all you're doing is just bringing that caliper, or that pad rather, closer to the rotor, because it's not yet touching the rotor. So you won't actually be braking. Instead, your foot will go straight to the floor, and you're going to probably shit yourself. So please don't forget, pump your brake pedal and make sure you have a firm brake pedal before you go ahead and try to put the vehicle in gear. Okay, do that in park. And all I can say, guys, is that wraps up this video. So hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys are able to do it on your own. And don't forget, like and subscribe.